So I'm going to be installing the Commvault Live Sync. From my last video, I ran into issues, and what I did is I just rebuilt a new server for my LiveSync, my passive node, new server, brand new server. So before you get started on LiveSync, right? I don't know if I told you this or not, but you have to have SQL Server installed on your LiveSync passive node. This would be your secondary, or you can call it your passive node, whatever. But SQL Server 2019, you got to have it, or whatever version, 2018, doesn't matter. But any version of SQL you have to install. First things first, we're going to go to Control Panel. We're going to LiveSync, and you see Commvault Live Sync needs at least one standby node, and Commvault failover package should be installed on both standby or active and standby nodes. Please check to install package, etc. All right, so the first things first is we have to install the software, the Commvault Live Sync server on the Commvault. So we're just going to install that now. So our version of our maintenance pack is 139. Probably see at the bottom here. Yep. Accept. Maintenance pack is 139. So we're just installing the Commvault failover only. Since I already have SQL here on the active node, I don't need SQL. So next. And the content store path is going to be, the default here. And it's just going to install those things. It's going to take a bit, not too far, not long, because most of the binaries are already present already. So in a real world environment, like if you set this up really how you're supposed to do it, like in the real deal production environment, you would set up the Commvault, and then you would set up the Commvault Live Sync on the Commvault. Then you would install the Commvault Live Sync on the passive node, which would be like your secondary Commvault essentially. And to wrap all that up, you would have it in a VM. So your Commvault would be a VM, and your Commvault passive node, or the LiveSync node, if you will, the secondary Commvault that you're replicating to, would also be a VM as well, in a perfect world. And then your media is, of course, the physical servers. You're replicating to the cloud, so you have primary storage, which is media agent, for like 2 weeks, a month, whatever. And then your offsite would be Azure or AWS in a perfect world. And you'd retain that for 10 years or whatever in the cloud, just in case you need to pull it back. And you probably do monthly fulls, weekly fulls. You could do monthly fulls probably. You can do weekly. Weekly depends on the data. But if it goes fast, then you want to do synthetic or real fulls every week. Just depends of what kind of data is and what do you expect to restore, because you're going to incur charges. And obviously the full, like a real full, is better than a synthetic full. The synthetic full is just the changes throughout the week, whereas a full is a real full. And so you have to kind of talk about that with your requirements to say, do we want a full or we want synthetic full? And if you're doing synthetic full, then you probably want a monthly full, just in case. That way if you have to ever restore, you don't have to go back as far to get the initial full, essentially. And that's really only if you need a system state. A file system, it matters, but not so much. Where fulls matter the most are a system state backup, or a bare metal restore, or even a VM, like a full VM restore. That's where it matters the most. Now going on to the LiveSync again. If you have a VM your comm server is a VM, your passive node is a VM, which is your secondary comm serve. Your networking issues are going to be mostly in VMware because the distributed virtual switch, that's going to be most of your issues. Having set that up, so when you go out and you employ this technology and you convince everybody on the team, let's say you're in a room, you have a whiteboard, you're drawing on everything, and the key thing to look into or talk about is how is the networking going to play out? How are the firewalls going to play out? Really, this software stuff, this may or may not work sometimes. It maybe go down or whatever. But most of the time, it's a network issue or it's a firewall issue that's stopping it. So in the meeting that you're going to have prior to doing this, like you're setting it up or whatever, you want to have like your firewall people there, your network people there, your VMware people there, your storage people, even your backup people, basically. And then just go over, what do I need? Like, for instance, a good one is firewall. The Commvault, the base folder, you want to exclude that from you want to exclude this from being blocked, essentially. So you put it in a firewall exclusion rule, like Commvault content store base, program files base. You want to exclude those from the firewall. Omitted from being scanned. Firewall exemption, essentially. This is a Commvault Live Sync. So this is an active. We're just going to call this active node. Let's just do that. Active node instead. Active node. We both know what it's for. We know it's for the LiveSync, Commvault Live Sync. We know that. So we're going to push next. And then it's going to ask for your Commvault server dot happy Dubai by local. And it's going to ask us for the credentials. Put those in. Good. Yeah, I tried to set this up before, so it's okay. I'm just going to push yes. So I've tried it several times. It didn't work. So I'm just going to say yes to this. Basically, it's like if you had it installed before or previous client name on using port 8405, then you would say, do you want to proceed with the new client name? Yes, I do. Click yes. Next. Not going to put any storage policies yet. We're going to call this the active node. That's what we're going to refer to it. So it's active node, passive node. Active meaning it's the active node. CommServe active node. And the LiveSync portion is, well, you'll see it when it's up. Basically, the LiveSync is you're syncing the database, the CommServe database, to the other server, the passive node. Okay. Now I should click on Control Panel, click on CommServe Live Sync. I don't see anything there. I should see something, but I don't yet. And let me check the Commvault. So looking for Commvault Process Manager, failover. Processes, services, failover. Not there yet because I don't have the other one installed. So this is the area you're going to probably see. It says CommServe Live Sync needs at least one standby node and CommServe failover package should be installed on both active and standby nodes. So most likely the reason you're not seeing the data or you're not seeing the show up yet is because you need both. You need a standby and you also need, you have the CommServe failover package installed, fine, but you don't have the LiveSync node for the other server, which we're going to do now. So passive node. This is a secondary node. Next, and put our ComServe in here. Commvault server dot happy Dubai dot local. And credentials, put the credentials in. Next. So we're still on 002. You can see that properly there. Now we install the ComServe package on the standby. So standby ComServe realization in progress, please wait. Yeah, like I said, 001 here. That means it's the ComServe. So you had 001, which is the ComServe portion, and 002, which is the LiveSync portion. And everything's going to be the same here. So just next through it. So next, installation path, next. I have mixed feelings about this, I'll tell you. And they are this. So when you install a deduplication database and an index cache on the same server, no bueno. Let's just say that. See where it says we'll use for duplication, index and caching. Don't do that. Production environment, what do? They have a RAID 6 for their index cache or their index server, index drive, whatever. And then they have a RAID 6 for the duplication database drive as well. Yeah. In case one goes down, you're not losing the dedupe and the index. That's why you put it on two different places in the real world. Okay. It's fine. Using this, it's not recommended. It's a lab environment, whatever. But a production environment, you want to obviously put it in the E drive or two different drives, but E drive, whatever. So we're going to say continue because we are doing that. Actually, let's do that. Let's go back one. Let's put this in a folder. We're going to call it, we're going to leave it there, actually. We'll leave it like that. Yeah, we're just going to leave it like that. I was going to try to maybe put an underscore IO or DDB. I said no. We'll leave it like that. Using data drive, it's fine. Yeah, and here's the SQL portion, the path. C programs, program files, Microsoft SQL Server, it's there. Happy, good. Next. And then finally the ComServe database. Next. So now we're going to reboot the server because the INSA 01 has completed. So this will be the ComServe portion. So it didn't yield the results I was looking for. So typically install the software, LiveSync, if you will, on this server, correct? Effectively, we're just uninstalled and we're reinstalling it effectively. Install packages, maintenance agreement, maintenance release, 139. Install ComServe failover, next. And I have removed everything here. No longer present, yeah. We're going to leave it there. There's no data there. While that's going, I'm going to go over to my passive node, and I'm going to see if I can click on and do an unfinished install. So I'm thinking it didn't, when it rebooted it didn't prompt me. So I'm thinking I need to do something else. Well, like I said, this is not normal. This is not a normal thing that happens when you install LiveSync. It should work. Works. I think the issue is that I'm trying to install LiveSync after I installed Commvault. I think that's the issue I'm running into. Yeah, here we go. Resume install. On the comm server itself. So I'm doing LiveSync after the fact. It shouldn't matter, but maybe there's an issue with it. So this is that 002. Maybe it has some cleanup items on 002, which is the failover client. That's what you see that right there. The comm server LiveSync. Going back to the active node. So waiting for it to update. Back to passive node or standby node, however they call it. Okay, next. Odd. Resume install. That's weird. Oh, okay. So it was resuming. It had two things. It was resuming install from the 002, which is the failover or LiveSync. Now it's resuming the install from the CommServe portion, or the CommServe portion of the LiveSync on the passive node. This is going to be a weird video because I'm back and forth from the passive node to the active node and explaining other things. So hopefully you'll keep up with it, or if I can keep it organized enough to where you understand what I'm doing. Okay, so we're going to call this active node just do _1. Next, and then I put my Commvault server dot happy Dubai local credentials, of course. Next, nothing. Okay, that has finished. Okay, active node is there. Fine. The real test is going to be control panel. That's the real test. Commvault Live Sync. Could not load. Restart services on second instance. Fine. All right, that's fine. So we will process manager, services, and restart them. Okay, so now we go to control panel. Commvault Live Sync. Yes, this is what I should see right here. I'm going to reboot our passive node. Again. Okay, rebooted it, and now I should see, just like before, Commvault. I don't see the CommServe. That's a question about it. I think there's more. I think there's more that I have to install, or there's a package or a DLL or something that is not present. clean up, or no, I'm going to resume install. So after it's done installing, we had to put the client name in, which is we're going to call it Commvault number 2 passive node. This is a passive node. Next. And we'll put in our ComServe name afterwards. If you notice here, I did not tell it to configure the SharePoint. I did not tell it to configure the media agent. I did not do that. I didn't tell it to configure Exchange. Yet on the ComServe, it has all of those things that I initially, I did. I did install them, the agents, right? So the file system, it pulls all the data or all the media agent. It pulls all of the clients or agents, let's say, that are installed on the ComServe. So if you're out there and you're doing it for the production environment, the takeaway is do it in a lab before you do it on the production environment. And then if you can do it in a production environment, install it when you first install ComServe, if possible, instead of doing it the way I did it, where I do the ComServe and then after I install the LiveSync, excuse me. So it's just still continuing to update and install the ComServe LiveSync on the passive node. Now it's gonna start Commvault services here. That's what it says it's doing. So it's not actually becoming a ComServe. It's just registering the services and ensuring to communicate to the active ComServe. Okay, it looks like it's successfully completed. So I'm going to click Finish. Notice that instance 002. So we have the ComServe. So this is the passive node, right? So Commvault, we have here the Process Failover Manager, the ComCell. I'm going to go to Control Panel, and I am going to go to the ComServe LiveSync. I want to change my storage policy, LiveSync storage policy. I'm going to change it to the Dubai primary storage. Dubai primary storage, 14 cycles to 14 days, 2 cycles. So I'm going to click on Enable, ComServe LiveSync, click on Connectivity, leave everything default. I don't think I should change anything here. Click on Synchronization setting. I'm going to change it to 1 minute. It's fine. Normally you'd have it 15 minutes. Basically what this means is you're updating the secondary, the passive node, the database, essentially, the LiveSync database. And I'm going to click OK. So if I were to change I'm just confirming the network connectivity. So note that the default configuration is used network gateway will reconfigure all communication to the ComServe and to use the network gateway clients. To opt out of the setting, select Use Existing option, which I'm going to click on Use Existing option, click OK, and OK again. So if I go back over to my LiveSync, or passive node, I should say, from the time, so they'll fail to read, write, failed to current active node, fine. Sending a request to the node active node, successfully reset config file for node. Now, if I click in here in the CommServe, the passive node, now I will see that I have a CommServe failover XML file. That's after you click on CommServe Live Sync, and then you enable communication, and then you connectivity, and then OK and all that. That's when it happens. If you don't see this here, you probably did something wrong in your install. But now we run a CommServe DR real quick. So we're going to do disaster recovery backup on our primary CommServe. You can go here. You're going to have a database. So a SQL database, essentially. It's going to be like a default and like CV something else. Yeah, under Commvault, right? Not the test. So yeah, CV, so Commvault failover log ships. And that's where the storage policy that you're going to use. Okay, I'm going to go on the passive node here. Again, remember, CommServe failover, it's really important. And here's your logs. So it's good. See, receive request to refresh the CommServe failover config file. Fine. Yeah, that's complete, right? So now if I go to start, and then I go to Commvault, and then failover process manager. Yeah, this is so you just verify, yeah, fine, passive node. This is the process manager for the CommServe failover on the passive node. So if I click on failover assistant, I don't see anything there yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to test it. But I need to test it from the CommServe itself. So I'm going to go to start, and I'm going to Commvault and process failover manager. And failover, this is active node. Yeah, okay, fine, fantastic. So notice here you see the passive node and active node. It's fine. So I'm going to failover. I'm not going to failover completely. I'm just going to a test. So failover to the Commvault number 2 passive node. Go over to here. Let's go to our Commvault process manager. And this is the CommServe. This is that's going to be the CommServe, secondary CommServe. So processes, services. Notice nothing is turned on. That's what you want. We leave that there. So we're going to leave this up. Yeah, we'll leave that up. We're going to go to our CommServe. We're going to perform a LiveSync test. So we're going to test. We're going to initiate failover. But before I do that, I'm going to take it down a bit for my CommServe LiveSync. And I'm going to synchronization schedule. I'm going to change it to let's do 30 minutes on this, just so I don't have a lot of those jobs running, essentially replication jobs, if you will, or synchronization. So once that's after these complete, yeah, these are all done, right? I shouldn't see any more until 30 minutes later. So we're going to run like I said, we're going to run a test it out. Oh yeah, maybe it needed to do it. Commvault process failover. Failover. Okay, so we're going to failover to the passive node, and we're just going to test it. So we're going to click initiate failover. Confirm. So it was testing it, nothing else. Confirm. We're going to view details on this. Okay. Checking node. Is it reachable? Sending a request. Active node. To make node active. Checking prerequisites for testing operations. Disable restore schedule for a node. Confirming no CommServe LiveSync jobs are running. So that I filled it. That's why it's important. Perform last sync before failover. So it's doing another sync before it does it. Now you see here production node. It changed to green, or what is it? Yellow. Yeah. Yeah. So if we go to our so right here. This is our passive node, which is going to be our test, let's say. Now this is on the secondary, the passive node. Click on failover. You see failover assistant. You see view details. What it's doing, you can see exactly the same thing essentially as you can the other side. So we look at our logs. We're going to see some here. Current active node is the active node. And then it has this, I guess this is XML file it's trying to read. Just got a bunch of stuff that, running last sync. That's basically, and it correlates to some of the job IDs. And here you could see, so it's going to reference the job ID from the CommServe. Yeah, job ID 43. You may not see that. Okay, so it looks like task complete. So perform last sync, waiting for completion of job 44. So if we go over here, job 44. Yeah, you notice that. So this is job 44, waiting for completion of job 44. And we know that by clicking on here. Right here, that's job 43. Yeah, 43. Okay, so console, I want to stay connected, right? Now on our passive node, CommServe, you see here, this is an active CommServe. So you verified database replication, restoring database recovery option done, executing recovery tool, and maintenance for test failover. So now the passive node, you see here it's changed. Or it's not changed yet, but the passive node screen. Over here to your passive node, and you're going to see production node still the same. Here, same thing, executing recovery test or recovery tool to maintenance mode for test failover. On your logs, same thing. CT failover or C test failover operation executed. Recovery assistant executing command, blah blah blah, and priority and all that. You can see a bunch of logs as well here from about sending a request to the node, executing command, preparing launch process, right? Yeah. Enabling test CommServe mode, revoke CommServe certificate, done. Delete firewall config, done. Update firewall setting, done. Running MongoDB repair utility, done. These are kind of checks essentially when you're going through the testing out the LiveSync effectively. You're probably looking at maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe something like that. From the time you start to the time we can see that from the logs, but the time you start to the time it says, yeah, it's testing good, you'll know how long it's going to take effectively. If we click on our Commvault services, I'm just going to see what we see here. Probably not going to see anything, most likely, because it's doing a test, it's not a production. Oh, I was wrong. Okay, look at that. So it's testing it, and you see, yeah. So production node is still the same. So if I refresh, close that, I come back and I do a process manager again, and see, yeah, still the same. Okay. So this is testing it out. So if we go to our CommServe active node, click OK. Test failover done successfully. Click OK. Yeah, test failover done successfully. Now, if I go here, obviously the services are online. But if I were to say, click on Commvault and then go to Commvault console, let's say. Now this is on the passive node. This is what you want to see when you do a failover. You want to kind of see this happen. Just easy button, basically. Now, maybe SSO is not working for some reason, but you could still put your password in and it would work. Or you have like a out of band username, like admin in my case. This is what you want to see. Okay, fine. Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. Look at this. This is what you're going to see when you do a failover. You're going to see it noted here. It's a little like a little pointed thing there. So you click on properties. ComCell name is Commvault server, right? And then you see the ComCell host name is the passive node effectively. And the version, everything is the same, quite honestly. Now, if we click on client computers, passive node, everything is going to be similar, if you will. Notice you don't see the clients themselves, but you do see the LiveSync agents, if you will. Now, if we click on Home and Control Panel, Commserve LiveSync. This is on the passive node again. You can still say the same thing. You can still manipulate. You can change anything, right? However you want to do it. So we installed we installed the Commvault Live Sync service on the active node, which is the Commvault server. And then we installed the Commvault failover with Commvault failover and CommServe on the passive node. And then we created a test restore using the Commvault failover service. So there's Commvault process manager failover. We clicked on failover. This is we clicked on failover, and then we just clicked initiate failover, and it tests it. Now we're going to fail back over. So we're going to fail back over to the active node. So we're going to click on initiate failover, and we're going to confirm that. So we're going back from the passive node back to the active node. So it's going to fail back to the active node. And most likely what you're going to see on the passive node is you're going to see Commvault services turn off and your CommServe turn off as well. Yeah, so it's disabling, stopping all the Commvault services on the passive node. It's lost connection to CommServe. Notice the services are turning off, stopping all services, including the web server, Tomcat service. Tomcat. And just it's also disabling as well. That's a key right there. Meaning if this is auto start, you don't want that to auto start by the. So your tendency is, let's say you get the live sync going. And what happens is after it installs the software here, it's going to show up. There's going to be like something that says configuration wizard or whatever for Commvault. Don't click that. What you do after you see that, you go to your ComServe, and you go to, like I said, your control panel. Then you click here, LiveSync, and then you set everything up. Then that thing that it's gonna say like Commvault. What is it like? Something like, what is it? Commvault. It's basically, it's like something that you're going to have to finish. I forget what it's called, but it'll go away when that happens. Okay, it looks like it's done. Yeah, failed back over. Fine. I'm going to just close this process manager. Close it. Open and close it back up. I just want to see if the services uncheck. It did. Look at that. Fantastic. Auto services. So what you saw was automatically it unchecked it, which is what we want. We don't want that thing coming back. And everything looks happy now. So it says current active node is back on the server. ComServe. So effectively, that's how you do a install LiveSync and perform a test replication to the passive node. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in the next one.